grant orb. So I'm very excited about this. And so let me go ahead and introduce Deepa, and then we'll just go ahead and jump right in. And this is going to be a very lively. So I want everybody to participate in the chat and join in, and please be vocal. So anyway, let me go ahead and introduce Deepa. Deepa, um, her role at Grant Orb and her background in nonprofit and her success in securing grants from prominent foundations is quite extraordinary. Deepa founded Grant Orb, an AI-powered grant writer. She comes from the nonprofit background with an expertise in fundraising and helping nonprofits embrace technology, which a lot of us really need. She has navigated the entire spectrum of the grant process, from winning grant proposals to allocating grants. So she's been on both sides. Um, Also, she's raised millions of dollars in grants from prestigious foundations, including the Rockefeller, Ford, Salesforce, Filecoin, Lean Foundation, and governments of Singapore. Previously, she worked for Salesforce Foundation and co-founded the United Way in Mumbai. So that's quite an impressive background, Deepa. And I'm going to go ahead before you say anything. I'm going to go ahead and jump into our icebreaker, and then we'll go ahead and get started. So let me ask you, Deepa, what is your favorite motivational quote?
Um, there are many actually, but I think the one that comes often is it's in the darkest that you see stars. It's yeah. As an entrepreneur, there are many dark times, and that's when you gain clarity. So I think, yeah, that's one of my strongest quote that I depend on pretty
That's a
often.
great one. That's a great one. It's almost juxtaposition of, I think MLK has one. It's something like the darkest cannot combat a small candle. Like a candle can stand up against the greatest darkness.
Yes.
So it's kind of a juxtaposition of that. Now, what book would you recommend everyone read?
Yeah, I mean, I am really there are many books that I've read. Obviously, I've been in the space for a very long time, social impact space. But the one that's always that I've referred to again and again is Conscious Capitalism. It's written by the Whole Foods founder, John McKay. He talks about how capitalism can be more than just being extractive. Like you can really do a lot of good if you build with right intentions and embed doing good in the business model.
I agree. I agree with that. Her name escapes me right now, but she's one of my heroes. She's since passed away. She was the founder of the Body Shop, and she's very similar. I mean, what she did with, I mean, if you ever get an opportunity, look her up and what she did. She just did everything the opposite. Business schools taught her and just was wildly successful and really helped out a lot of nonprofit organizations and countries as well. What is the best advice you've ever received in one sentence?
You got this, like, you can do it. I think my dad,
Yeah,
like, every time I've gone to him with troubles, like, oh, I don't think I can do this. Oh, this
yeah,
test is coming
I
up.
love
And he's
that.
like, you got this, you'll do it. He
Yeah,
never helped me.
I love that. That's great. Super simple but effective. And if you could have dinner with any three historical figures, who would they be?
Oh, yeah. This definitely Gandhi. I would love to have dinner with him. Lee Kuan Yew, he's the founder of Singapore, and he has a great, like, what he's done for that country is amazing. He took a third world country and turned it into a first world country,
Yeah,
and
it's amazing.
it's amazing. I once, before he passed away, did meet him remotely, and so I would love to have dinner with him. And Steve Jobs, I use his products every day. I love Steve Jobs for his marketing and just as a visionary. Uh,
Those are great. Those are mine would be certainly Malcolm X. Uh, Two would be Nikki Giovanni, who I met right before she passed away, and the founder of the Body Shop, and her name is Anita Roddick. Those would
Oh,
be the ones that I love to. But let's go ahead and jump into why everyone is here. And so my first question to you is, how would you explain your overall goal in helping nonprofits leverage AI in the technology of grant writing?
yeah. So AI is an amazing technology. I'm not sure how many of you have played around with AI, but it is this collective intelligence of humanity that has been put into a machine, and that now machine can talk to us. We don't have to talk machine language. The machine can talk to us in human language. All we need to do is ask questions, and it can do things in seconds. So what humans would take hours to do, the machine can do it in like literally seconds and minutes. You can draw pictures, just describe the scene, and it'll create an image for you in seconds. So it's a really powerful technology, and I got introduced to it in 2022, right before ChatGPT came out, because I used Midjourney, which is an image generation
Yeah.
platform, to design a book cover for a book that I was writing. Was Didn't have that big a budget, and I needed a really impressive cover for my book, so I used Midjourney. And that's when I was like, wow, if this can generate an image for me in microseconds, and I can iterate on it. It's not that it's a one-time thing. If I change words, the image changes. And so how can we use this technology for nonprofits? And I come from a nonprofit background. I started Unite Way Mumbai. It was really, really tiny organization. I worked with small nonprofits and helped them fundraise. And I know the pain points of small organizations, like they're always resource constrained, and grants are important for survival. And that's when I thought, like, whoa, if we can do the same magic, like describe the project and it writes the whole proposal, like a grant proposal in minutes, that'll be a game changer for nonprofits. And that was literally the story behind why we started Grant Orb. It is pretty magical. Like, you just describe and writes the entire grant proposal for you in minutes. So it really uh, takes away a lot of time that goes into just sitting down and writing grants, which can go from like, at least even a simple grant, like even a $10,000 grant will ask you so many questions. And you easily end up spending a week, and then you're stressing over every word. And on the other hand, this does it in like 5 minutes, 10 minutes maximum. So that's the kind of radical transformation that we're talking about.
That's fantastic. And a lot of foundations, even the, the more established ones, which tend to be a little bit behind the eight ball in terms of being into the future, having you allowing you to apply online and all those things. I was just talking to a friend of mine who's actually a trustee at the Levy Foundation, which is a massive foundation in LA. Um, and he was saying, yeah, we're just now going online. And the Levy, I mean, Levy is so big, they have a library named after them at the University of Southern California. I mean, that's how much money they give away. So my question is, how does Grant Orb work with applications that are online? Do you have to download the questions and put it in there,
Yes.
or can it go to the website and read them and do it for you? How does that work?
So the way it works is that you basically, generally, most of these foundations now, the way they accept applications is online, as you mentioned. And a lot of the time, they will share the PDF document with you. Now, these are the grant guidelines, and these are the questions that you can expect. And so if you can just upload that document into GrantOrb, it'll create a form that is very similar to that form. I mean, it's exactly that form, basically. It will capture the eligibility criteria, assessment, everything that's important about the grant. It'll take all the narrative questions and create a form for you. And then you can just use the flow that we have on GrantOrb, which is basically describe your project that you're seeking funding for, and use that information to basically write the application form for you. You obviously have full control, like you can come back and edit and update with AI. All of that has been built. Even before you generate the grant document, you can take a look at the outline that the AI creates for you, and you can edit that outline. if you say, if the AI suggested that you will be reaching 500 kids, but your goal is to only impact 300, like through this program, then you can make those changes before you even generate the proposal. So there are a number of places where the human is in the loop, but you're not writing the proposal. You're literally reviewing the work of AI and say, hey, so we want
So
to
you're
add
editing versus writing.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
That's what it is, literally. Like you just
Okay.
you're the boss of AI, you
Uh-huh.
basically say, okay, this is what we're going to change here, and this is what we're going to add here, basically. So it literally makes writing any grant application a breeze. You can take any document. If the application form is behind a login, then if there is an option to save the application form, or if you can just take copy the questions and then put those questions in Grantorp, it'll create a form that has exactly the same questions, and then you can write it out.
This is fantastic. This is great. I really love that because, I've written a lot of grants in my day. And I'm not a woman, but it feels like I'm giving birth every time I have to sit down. And I
I
mean,
know.
it's such a I mean, apparently I'm okay at it, but it's not my thing. My thing is sitting down with a donor, talking to them, asking them. But
Doing
sitting
more
down,
exciting parts, doing more
yeah,
exciting parts.
yeah,
Yeah, I know grant, like even with like grants is something you keep procrastinating till the last day.
yes,
And no matter how easy the technology will become, you'll still be like,
exactly.
I'm going to do this on the
Yeah,
last day. And a lot of our people that we're in touch with, our nonprofits, they're like, hooray, we just submitted the grant. And it's always on the last day. They're still using
right.
grant, but they at least now they can get it out of the
This is
door.
powerful. This is quite powerful. Now, Deepa, does it cite sources as well?
Yes, yes. So
See, that's fantastic. And I
we
want everybody to understand that I'm going to, again, as I said, I've written a lot of grants, and the ones that really stand out are the ones that are backed up by other research, as well as you're collaborating with individuals that are within that space. So if it's a food bank and, if you're giving out food and you're collaborating with the food bank, as well as there's sources that says, this particular area is a food desert, and you can cite that. That is so
yes.
powerful. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's so we built a research agent. And so when you describe your project and the AI knows that this is the project they're going to be doing, obviously when you're describing it, you say, I want to say, do a soup kitchen in SF for the month of winter. So you've described your project, the AI has information, the keywords, and it basically goes and then looks up all the research around the problem of, say, homelessness or the need for hot meals, things like that. And it plugs in those data
That's
points
crazy.
within the grant proposal. It naturally plugs it in. And all of this happens within the span of 3 minutes. When the
Right,
AI is writing the grant, when your proposal comes out on the after the AI finished writing
right,
the grant, it has all the statistics plugged in, and we cite the sources in a bracket, so where the data is coming from. And so data without source means nothing. So it's always good to cite your
right.
data. So that's
That's fantastic.
yeah, that's amazing. And sometimes just finding research around, like, say, for instance, you're offering a solution and it is an evidence-based solution, you might not know about that, but now the
Right,
research, the agent can say this has shown effectiveness in so and so scenario, for instance, and
right.
it'll cite the evidence-based solution there.
That's such, and I want the audience to understand how impactful that is, because if you were on, maybe 3 months ago, we had a Michael Brickhouse on, and Michael Brickhouse is he works over at Duke Divinity School, but he deals with the grants and foundations there at Duke. But he also is somehow connected to the Lilly Foundation. Like they communicate. And he was saying the biggest issues that he runs into with some of the Black churches or ministries that are applying grants is they don't collaborate. Like they don't know. So they'll say certain things in their grant that are not quite true because they just don't know and they're in their little bubble. And what you're describing, Deepa, is Grant Orb will sort of bring that information in and around, sort of what it is they're doing and infuse that into the grant. So the writer, which is you, the editor of, will sort of know a little bit more about what it is you're doing, and as well as you will appear to be collaborating or knowing what's actually going on in your community, which is a big issue because most people don't know this, but fundraisers know this, but a lot of people don't know that the hardest money to actually get is from a foundation because they're very knowledgeable. They're they're
That's
they're the smartest donors out there. And so you can't bluff them. You can't, because everyone is applying to them and they know who's doing what. Most of the assistants have PhDs, so it's not like so you really have to bring your A game when you're applying for a grant. And so this sounds like this would be very, very helpful in that regard, and bringing in information you may not know as the program officer.
That's right. And also what it does is, because we have like a winning grants template that's like a default template anyone can use, even like it's like everything that the funder wants to know. And because the template is, since it's giving you an expert level grant, it will always force you to commit to goals and objectives
Right,
and timeframes and
right.
everything. Like it will not give you a grant without those
Yeah,
details. And so what I've seen is that sometimes, like I work with a lot of nonprofits, they are afraid to commit.
right.
Sometimes they don't want to say we will do this
Yeah,
by like
yeah.
6 months, but donors want to know that because
Yeah,
they're giving you the money. They want to know what you're going to do with this money, how much time it's going to take you, how many people are going to
exactly.
get impacted. So they want to know numbers, and also they want to know numbers about your past achievements, right? Like what
Yes,
have you done till date, your impact to date? And a lot of them
yes.
still struggle to quantify the impact, but it's really important that you take time off to just just put down like a pager on what you've done so far, how many families or people you've
Impacted
reached
by
out,
that.
and
Yes.
and the impact, because
Yeah.
we are always doing stuff and we never sit down to take a stock of what we've
Mhm.
already achieved. And it is so important that we're able to communicate that to donors, you know.
No question. No, no, no question. I mean, that is such a great point. The other thing that uh, I find fascinating about grants as well as foundations, I was working for a small uh, religious school in Watts, California, Verbum Day. And when I first started, and this was probably about 10 years ago, maybe, and we ended up getting a grant from Keck, which was, I mean, Keck is mass. Keck gives out $100 million grants. They're massive, but they ended up giving us a small grant compared to them. To us, it was huge. I think it was like $160,000 or something. And it was for our math department, our math and science department. But I'm bringing this up because we thought that the money they gave us was the biggest asset. But what happened was they made us a better school because of how they made us report to them. It changed everything. It required us to sort of have these goals that you're saying across the campus and all these different departments. We became a better school because they required us to sort of do these reports. And so they just became a part of our lexicon. Like this is at the beginning of the year. We'd have this whole process that we use that Keck just made it. We just became a better school. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, no. So because when you submit a proposal, you make commitments, right? Like you would, it's like literally project planning, like literally. Grant proposal is like
Exactly.
project
That's a good
planning.
point.
Yeah, it's like you have to detail out, okay, what is the problem you're trying to solve? What is the solution you're offering? How will you deliver the solution? And what are the strategies, like activities that you will undertake, what are the timelines, and you have to commit to timelines, like, and milestones. So this is like literally project planning, right? Like the first 3 months for instance, if it's a school, like we're going to source all the contractors. And so it really helps you organize your work, because at the end of the day, you have to do reporting back to your donor, and you need to and sometimes the reporting can be quarterly, like every quarter you need to report, or, annually, whatever it is. But it helps you plan your own activities, because now you have this grant and you have to implement it. You've got the money. And if you want the grant again from that same donor, it's important that you stick to those commitments that you've made. It just helps you organize your entire workflow around it, like if you've got.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, so if you've said like in the first 3 months, this is what you're going to do, then you at least will assign somebody, hey, we got to go source all the contractors and, have at least the people who are going to be helping us build this classroom out, So that's your first 3 months goals. And the next would be something else, so you're working by the clock. And so it's having a plan, and working as per the plan.
Yeah, and many people on this call, they're ministry leaders. So a lot of these individuals, program officers, or individuals that are over some of the programs they're putting forth. I guess what I'm saying is it allows you to apply for the grant again, apply for other grants, and you get more money. But I think the bigger point that I'm trying to make is it made us a better organization, because we started coming up with our own goals for our own self. Like we were like, what can we do? Like nobody had ever asked us that.
Yeah.
Like, and so we started like looking at, so as leaders, as ministry leaders on this call, you will be able to sort of reach for the stars for things that you move your program forward when you have goals. Because a lot of times many of you might be surprised if you go to one of your program leaders that's running the program and you say, well, what's our goal for this year? Some of them will look at you like, what are you talking about? Like, what do you mean? But when you start ingesting that and making that a part of your organization, it changes everything. You just go ahead, Deepa.
And that's how businesses operate too. They have goals, and for them, it's about survival as well, right? Because they have to bring in the revenue, and so there are targets and this thing. But in our space, we don't operate like that. But once you start bringing in grants funding, you're making big commitments. The perspective changes how we operate, right? Like it makes us more like we need to be more goal oriented, more numbers driven.
Correct. Yeah. And so the other thing too, I wanted to ask the participants, the audience, if and I want to throw a poll up, and the poll is, let's go ahead and pull it up, Alex, if you would. And the poll basically is asking you, has your organization ever used AI powered tools to write some grants? And yes, you've used them, and no, you have not. That would be, I'm going to say yes, because I have. And I'd be very interested in what others. And then those that if you have used them, what was your outcome? If you would put that in the chat, just write that in the chat if you have used AI powered tools. I want to ask, while you're filling that out, I'm going to ask Deepa another question. The other question is, what are the key factors that determine the success of a grant proposal, especially to a large foundations like the Rockefeller? But I also want to talk about smaller grants, which are really what a lot of the people on this call will be applying for.
Yes.
So if you can talk about both.
Definitely. So I think the number one is obviously qualifying the eligibility criteria, because before whenever they put out a call for proposal or you need to submit a grant proposal, they have their own giving mandate. Every foundation has a giving mandate. They will say, we only fund southern, nonprofits or charities in Southern California, only that are working for food security, or, so they've really defined their giving mandate and the geography, and you need to be 501c3 or,
Yes.
All of that. So you need to firstly do like a just check, like you qualify all of that. That's the number one.
Because you're not going to change anybody's mind. So it's
yeah.
really important to
Yeah.
understand that.
That's number one. So once you qualify the eligibility, I think the second is to really find a program that you propose to them that aligns very closely with their mission. What is it that they're really looking to fund? It has to be a really close fit with that, the idea that you're suggesting. There should be, if they want to fund food security projects, then it has to be in that space. The mission alignment is very, very important. And how you communicate your proposal, because as I said, sometimes people don't make commitments. Even in the application form, even if they give you an application form and they say these are the goals, you need to describe the problem. So you might describe the problem, but you might not describe how big the problem is, or you fail to communicate to them the importance of why we need to address this problem. So the proposal carries a lot of weight, like how you communicate. Because if you look at a proposal, it's like a remote interview. They're not seeing you in person. You're communicating your thoughts to them through this proposal, right?
Mhm.
So that how effectively it is crafted, and if you've made commitments, are they clear commitments? Timelines are clear, things like that. And Yeah, basically it is just your idea, and your capacity to deliver. Because even if you write the best proposal, you have the greatest idea, but your team lacks the capacity to deliver that project. And that's something, again, you communicate that in your form through who your organization is, what are your past achievements, have you all done similar projects before, who are the people who's going to be part of this project. And if they see that there are discrepancies there, like you really haven't done anything around food security, but this is what you're proposing, okay, that can even be fine. But if your team members have no qualifications around that or have no experience around that, then it's like they'll be like, whether I'm not sure if they can do it. Everything is great, they meet the eligibility, the proposal is great, the idea is great, but they lack the experience and the skill sets needed to implement this project. So they might not want to fund you for that reason. So I think you need to be clicking green on all of these fronts. Eligibility, mission alignment, in terms of like the idea, like it should align with the funder's mission and your mission. How well you communicate that, and in terms of putting all the details in and being committed to some goals and objectives and timelines and stuff like that. And obviously the team, very important,
Right.
organization and the team's capacity to deliver that project.
One of the things I really like about what you're doing with Grant.org is often when I would write grants, I'm writing it in a department um, that I don't know anything about, like especially when I was at USC in the Cancer Center. I'm not a researcher, so I would do the sort of the administration stuff, but I would need the researcher to sort of fill out areas that I don't know, or a teacher. If you're a ministry leader and you have an after school program and you're not running it, but you have someone else running it, you're not the one that's filling out, sort of the meat of the application of what needs to be done, how the services are going to be delivered. And often when I'd send them the question, they would not answer the question. They would say all these things, but they wouldn't answer the question.
I see.
And so and this is what I love about Grant, because Grant.org is going to answer or make you answer the question.
No, you just have to actually dump your thoughts there. You don't even have to answer for each section. So that we give you a box right at the top. You just put your thoughts there. You can put your unstructured thoughts there. You don't even have to have like proper sentences. It can be broken sentences. You can say whatever, like all that, everything it says, it'll take all of that information and it will process it into structured information.
Right.
With numbers and research and everything.
And we'll answer the question.
And we'll answer so it's great for nonprofits when they are not able to articulate like exactly what, but they have the idea, the idea and everything. So you can put the idea, your thoughts in that box that we provide is called the grant wizard, and just say create outline. It'll create an outline of the proposal. You review it to make sure your thoughts have come out structured the way you want them to be,
Right.
with numbers and everything. And if you're happy, go ahead and generate the proposal. If you want to edit anything, you can come back and edit with update with AI. So you can iterate on it as well. But it gives
Right.
you a really structured document. As I said, it's project planning, literally.
Right.
You know, you can use it for if you're undertaking any project too, you can just, you know, have a whole plan of that project through that grant orb.
I love that. I love that. Let's go ahead and check the poll. Alex, can you pull it up so we can sort of, so we have 38% said that they have used it, and a good 62% said that they had not. And I would really love for the 38% to chime in the chat. I know Desiree said that she has used GPT, and she hasn't heard back yet from them for a grant. But if anyone else has used AI to write a grant, I would love to hear your experience on that. Now, Deepa, one thing I find now, before I go, what do you think about that poll? Does that
It,
sort of
it's
jive right with what you've seen?
Yeah, actually, I also answered that one, so it
So
could
you
be my
probably, so it's probably lower,
yeah,
than,
exactly, yeah. So
yeah,
the
because we have
ones
about
that
24 people on.
yeah,
So
so it's standard. You know, I feel like all the AI people, we kind of live in a bubble. Like it has like we think the world is moving fast and the world is adapting to AI, but outside, very few people know about AI. You know, so I'm glad that you're hosting this session and spreading the word about this technology because it is literally pretty magical.
it's
It
a
is.
monster. It's absolutely,
It does like anything, like
it's
we have to
crazy.
totally forget about how we've done things in the past, like
Right.
and just get used to the speed because this is it and this is the
Yeah.
future of work and everything.
Yeah.
So it's an amazing technology. Like sometimes I'm like I don't feel the pain of writing grants at times and I'm like, am I missing something? Like, am I not doing something
Yeah.
right? Because I haven't
Yeah.
suffered
Yeah. Yeah.
enough. The suffering
So
has been eliminated.
so Deepa, I don't know if I don't think I have this question later on. How can individuals that are interested in Grant Orb, how can they sort of reach out to it or check it out or reach out to you? How would they do that?
Yeah, so they can go to our website. It's grant, GRANT orb.com. And my email ID is on the website as well. But you can also email me. I'll put it in the chat. So you can it's deepa@grantorb.com. I'll put my email. So if anybody
Yeah,
has questions about grant writing or just AI in general, I'm really happy to answer your questions because we use AI for everything. You know, as an AI organization, we used AI to design a logo. We used AI to like literally do everything, you know. So if you need help in terms of how you can apply AI in your day-to-day operations, I'm happy to answer those kind of questions as well.
that's fantastic. Okay. Let me move on to, oh, there was a couple other answers to how, the experience with AI. Let's see. Okay, we have Desiree. We have Lisa says, what about organizations that don't want to use AI? I'm not sure about the question. Lisa, why don't you turn off your mute and ask that question so we can understand what you mean?
Good afternoon. I said
Hi.
organizations that don't want you to use AIs.
Oh,
Oh, there are,
okay.
you know,
Is that what I typed? I don't know.
That's we. You just explained it. That's perfect. So go ahead, Deepa.
yeah, I would say AI is a new technology, very new. We are just 2 years into it, literally 23, 24. We're at the beginning of 25 right now. And a lot of, I mean, I see so many grant application forms because we are creating those app templates on Grant Orb. Nowhere have I come across like you can't use AI. Sometimes the forms do say if you've used AI, mention that you've used AI. But I just think these are like the beginning because we are in such a transition phase to a new technology that people even ask these kind of questions. It'll become as common as using Google. Nobody asks you whether you use Google for research, but everybody uses Google. So AI is going to be part of our life. Nobody's going to.
I agree.
It's going to be ubiquitous. Like we are already, if you're using Gmail, it does autocomplete. So that's AI as well, So it's going to be everywhere. So even if people are asking today, they will not ask tomorrow because it's just that we are in a phase of transition. We are going from
They're catching up to. There's another question that Alicia, I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly. Have you had experience of foundations stating not to use AI? I came across one that specifically specified that. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, as I said, like I've been seeing I'm seeing a lot of grant applications from forms from the US and Canada, and I haven't come across. It could be in European Union. That's totally different. They're slow to adopt the technology. I mean, foundations should encourage this because what AI does is it democratizes access to grant funding. Initially only large organizations were able to afford.
No, I have it as I just.
Can you please mute your everyone mute your speakers? Go ahead, Deepa.
Yeah, so initially, like large organizations could afford to get grant funding because they had the resources to apply for grants since it's a time-consuming process. But now even smaller organizations can go and get a part of that funding because AI empowers them to write applications. So I think foundations who want to fund more diverse ideas and programs should be open to this technology. It is democratizing access to grant funding, making sure that almost everyone can participate in this process. So not just big organizations with the means to have big departments and teams of grant writers to who were able to get them the funding. So sometimes they would ask in the grant application form just to mention if you've used AI, but I haven't seen otherwise that they've specifically said not to use AI.
Great. And to dig in just a little bit deeper, what would you suggest for individuals that run into that? Just simply write it themselves or?
No, I mean, there's no way for them to even figure out if it's written by them or by AI, right? AI writing is very human-like writing. Like, it is, and at the end of the day, foundations already have so many guardrails, right? You're only using AI to communicate your idea effectively, your proposal effectively in the shortest possible time. So you can go back to your mission, your real cause, right? Rather than spending way too many hours writing your grant. And so they already want you to be registered and have hundreds of other requirements before they give out the money. So they have the guardrails in place. It's not like anybody's coming and taking advantage of AI and getting funding that they shouldn't have received funding. At the end of the day,
you got to deliver on the grant.
Yeah, exactly. You got to deliver on the grant. You got to deliver on the commitments you make. AI is just a tool to help you write that proposal and to effectively communicate your idea in the shortest possible time. So I don't see why they should have any problem with using AI. Like you can make your case that you used it to just communicate your idea,
Right. Okay. All right, cool. Because what's interesting is I use Grammarly as well, which is it's an editing software, and it just basically, but it's AI though, and so it's AI powered, and so I'd be like, so do you not want me to use Grammarly as well?
Yeah,
so it's kind of
exactly.
So that's that. I
or Gmail, like if you use Gmail, they have
Same
autocomplete.
thing.
Or Google Docs. Now, if you're using
Exactly.
Google Documents, autocomplete is AI basically because it can know what you're going to say next. So you'll be like, okay, so I shouldn't use anything then because everything is AI. And soon everything
carrier
will be
pigeon.
AI.
Just send it in carrier pigeon.
So I think even if they asked it, they won't be asking it tomorrow because AI is going to be everywhere and it is impossible. Impossible. It'll be like saying, why are you on the internet? Did you use internet to get to us? It'll be like that.
Yeah, I agree. Interestingly, I was a part of a master's or executive program from the University of Notre Dame their business school when I was working with that same school. And I got the dean of the business school, their master's program, and he said, I asked him, I said, so what are you guys doing with the students with AI? And he looked at me and smiled and he said, I'm so glad you asked me that question. I said, well, what's your answer? And you know what he said to me? He said, we're requiring more. He said, we're expecting them to use AI and we're making them iterate even more. So we don't have to limit what we were asking them before. Now we're just dogpiling on top of them, assuming they're going to use AI. So we're really coming at them. I thought that was such a great response.
That's amazing. Very progressive, I would say, because students should learn how to work with AI.
Exactly.
This is the technology. Like if you're not giving them AI, you're literally hindering their opportunity, you know.
No question. No question. So, what advice would you give smaller nonprofits applying to grants and with Grant Orb? Like, what would you say to them?
I would say that now you can write, you're not limited by your capacity or your capabilities. You can match a large organization. If large organizations could churn out 100 grants a year, you could do that too, because you're not limited by your capabilities anymore. You are powered by a machine that can write without getting tired. I think the only thing is that you need to figure out all the grant opportunities that apply to you, and you can use AI to research that as well. Like if you are based in a city or in a town or wherever you're based, you can ask all these preliminary questions to ChatGPT, or you can go on Grok, which is AI by X, and you can ask them questions like, what are the opportunities available, grant opportunities available for me? I'm based here in this organization, in this area, and this is what I do. And they'll list out all the opportunities that are there, and you can start your research from there. And obviously, basically, you need to forget everything you've known about grant writing so far. It is a very time-consuming process, but it isn't anymore. You can literally write 10 grants a day if you want to, as long as you have those many opportunities to apply to.
That's great. That's great. Now, Deepa, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. Did you mess around at all with cases for support with Grant Orb that you and I were chatting about?
I'm going to be putting that up because I think that's going to be pretty handy for corporate sponsorships and stuff. Yes, I will be putting that up.
Yeah.
I will be. I'll send you an email as soon as I have it.
Sure. No, and I wasn't putting you on the spot for me. I was actually putting you on the spot for others. I want you all to hear this. So Deepa is also in the process of tuning a Grant Orb into a having the ability to write a case for support, and it's slightly different than a grant. Case for support is basically usually for individuals. So it doesn't have quite all the detail that you would have in a grant application. It has some of that detail, but not quite as much. It's mostly written for individual donors, which you get the largest gifts from. And so you would input that information the same way, and then it's going to spit out a 2 or 3 page case for support for an individual that, and I have to say, I put together, I used ChatGPT 2 years ago, and this was for a capital campaign. And I had a lot of data. I hired a company to help us do some research, and I put it in ChatGPT. It produced a pretty good. I had to go in and do some editing, me and my team, but we ended up getting $11 million. Our first ask, and it would have taken us, no question, 3, 4, maybe a month to write something like that. And we did it in a span of maybe a week, which it's nuts what that thing produced.
Yeah.
And so I can't imagine what Grant Orb would do, once you tweak that, because chat is general.
Yeah, it is a general chatbot. And also research, like you said, you had a set of people go do research. And I was talking to another grant consultant, and he was like, he actually has a team that does research. And now we've got this agent who does research while writing
Right.
the proposal, and it all takes 3 minutes, you know. So the game has totally changed. Like, as I said, we've got to forget about everything we've known to date and just, you know that we have these powerful technology that can do things for us instantaneously. One thing I wanted to say, we also do letter of inquiry. So a lot of foundations, like I've looked at the top 200 foundations in the United States, and a lot of them have application, like you can apply to them anytime during the year. So they do not have specific deadlines.
Right.
And the first step is to submit a letter of inquiry, you know,
Right.
which is basically just introducing your organization, what you've done, your past achievements, and what is it that you're requesting funding for. So we've got like a lot of LOI templates already of many foundations, and we also have a
Oh, wow.
winning template is also there. Like if they haven't prescribed a template, you can use a winning LOI template for that. And so that's your first step into getting, you know, a funding from that organization. And once they like what you do and what program you're suggesting, then they open up the application process to you. You know, then they will send you a bigger form to fill up. So LOI, so it's a two-step process. But what was really interesting to know was that so many organizations, at least 60% of organizations, do not have a specific deadline. You can go to them at any point.
I didn't know that it was that high.
I even for me, but because we're training a model to even do grant discovery soon, you'll be able to.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because if we want you to win 100 grants, you should know where
Right.
to apply for those grants. So we're training a model, and we have all. I was looking into the data, and I wanted to personally visit 200 websites, like top 200 foundations websites, to see that.
Right.
And it was fascinating that so many of them do not have a deadline. Also, a lot of them are closed, like their grant making is closed, so they only go to organizations they've supported in the past, or the team members refer to them. So that's, you can leave them aside, but a lot of them will be like, you can apply to us anytime during the year. This is the 4 times when our board members meet, you know, like in like March and July, like they'll list down when their board meeting happens, because that's the time when the board members will decide whether to give money to you or not to give money, you know, that kind of decision making. So it's pretty old fashioned that way. So there isn't like a team, you know, I guess the team just makes recommendation to the board, and the board says, okay, let's give them the money, you know, that kind of a thing. But it's like on a rolling basis, so which is amazing.
Yeah. Let me ask you another question. Does Grant Orb make a suggestion of how much you should ask for?
Generally, the thing is that the foundations have specified the amounts, like they will say up to 50,000, you know, so you can ask anywhere.
But there's big ranges.
There are big ranges. And I would say that as nonprofits, we are always under asking. So we don't make a suggestion, but we give you a proper proposal with an ideal team, and, you know, like makeup of a team that should deliver this, and everything that you need to do. So I would say don't under ask, you know. We make that mistake all the time, you know, of under asking for some reason. I don't know why. And then we don't deliver on our projects, and then it doesn't show good. So we should confidently ask for whatever amount it takes to do that. So what we do is we do line item budgeting. So we will list out all the related expenses to the program, and then you need to just put the cost it out. So we don't cost it out for you, because we don't know what the cost for that specific place is going to be, since, you know, salaries differ from place to place, and renting of equipment and stuff differs. So all we do is we give you like we auto generate a list of related expenses to implement that project.
I think that would be helpful in some way, something like that. And only because over the years, I've kind of gotten a sense of how to do it, but I've never read it anywhere. Like, you need to know how much you're asking for. For example, if the project you're working on is $25,000, and the nonprofit or the foundation that you're applying to has a range from 0 to 50, you should not ask that foundation for $25,000, because they're not going to want to be the only one funding that project. Foundations just don't really like that. And so they're just sort of need, and with the newer people applying to these grants, I think that would be helpful in some way, helping them understand how much, because a lot of times, heck, the grant could be perfect and they ask for too much money, that might,
No,
you know,
I think what your line item budget should reflect your proposal. You know, if you're saying
I
we'll be
agree.
doing this, so AI, when it is writing the proposal for you, it already has the information about what it would take to implement this proposal. So what we
Right.
do is we generate an entire list
Oh,
of
got you.
expenses. You know, you'll need salaries for X number of people. You will
Right.
need to do this. So it has to be a close fit, because sometimes if you ask,
Agreed.
and
100%.
if you ask and monies like, and it doesn't match your proposal, like, you know, that you want to implement, say, after school program, but you're asking like salaries for like 10 people, but you only need 3 people, you know, like
Right.
then it's a misfit, you know. So it has to
Right.
closely align with the program that you are proposing to them. That's
Right.
why at the time of writing the proposal, the AI already knows, okay, this kind of program will need these kind of expenses, and it generates a list of expense items for you.
Right. Okay. That's helpful. That's helpful. Let me ask one last question, and then I also please everyone put some questions if you have them in the chat, and we'll try to respond to some of those with the amount of time that we have left. Deepa, can you give us an example of someone using Grant Orb and being successful?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't name the
Well,
organization.
not necessarily the name.
Yeah,
No.
yeah, but
However, they're named on the 990, so
so, you know, this is, I can tell the story of this executive director because I work pretty closely with them. Like it's a frontline organization doing amazing work in terms of providing employment opportunities to people from the vulnerable community. Especially, they have a social enterprise model, so they do catering and you know, all that other stuff. And through that process, they employ people. And the executive director actually was totally turned off by the grants process. You know, she's like, you know, like, it's so time consuming, and that's why she started as a social enterprise model, where she wants to like really bring in money through her social enterprise. But after using Grant Orb, she's actually been recommending us to everybody. She's like, I can't believe I'm doing grant writing again, you know, because it is such it is a no pain for her to write grants. Like, literally, she goes from like, oh, this is what I need money for, and this is the grant giving mandate, and she just goes and describes her project. And she's won multiple grants with Grant Orb. She's one of our oldest user. So it's amazing. From yeah, there was a Microsoft grant that she recently won. So yeah, with her consent, maybe I will put her story on Grant Orb, so others can read.
good,
She
good.
literally
You know,
went from like having this aversion for grants because it is such a painstaking process to like writing grants. Like, she's literally, her grant writing rate has gone up. She is attempting at least 3 grants a month, you know, from
oh wow.
doing nothing. Yeah. And so, and also, once you set up a team account on Grant Orb, as I said, we are building out a grant discovery agent. It's not public yet, but I use it internally because we want to really tune it and before we make it public. But I use it. Once you have a team account set up, it's free to do that. You can set up a team account. I start recommending grants based on where you are based and your programs and stuff like that. So, you know, if you were just writing like 4 grants a year, you'll probably end up writing like 30 grants.
Certainly, certainly. There's a question here, and let me know if you agree or disagree. Lisa, or comment. Lisa said, "I thought you were going to be talking about funding grants writing for churches." And my comment to Lisa, and you can chime in if you agree or disagree. My comment to her is that there is no difference between churches applying for applications versus other nonprofits, unless the foundation doesn't support religious organizations. Other than that, there's no difference.
There is no difference. Yeah. If you go to the foundation's giving pages and, you know, eligibility clauses, sometimes they will say we do not make grants to faith-based organizations. They'll clearly define that. But if they haven't defined it, the process is exactly the same. You know, there is no differential treatment. You have to still go through ensuring that you meet all the eligibility requirements. You have the IRS determination letter,
right.
you know, all of that. your audited reports for past 2 years. These are kind of documents that they ask for, and
Right.
and the ask will be like the same. What is it that you're requesting funding for? What kind of
Exactly.
program? What should we give you money for?
I think it's a good question, though. I mean, or a comment. I think it's a good. The one thing too, I think Lisa makes me think as well. I think being that she made that comment is a lot of churches don't have audited financials, and the churches that I work with, I encourage them to get audited financials because it sort of lets the church know that they're working in a business sort of environment, whereas a lot of churches never get their financials audited, and so they're never told, well, you're receiving too much funds from this, or you're not doing this in the right way because they're a religious organization and they're just not required. That's another difference. So it's sometimes a church is applying for an application for a grant and they ask them for audited financials, and the church is like, well, what's that? And so that's a bit of a difference as well. But the one thing, to Lisa's point, and this is the last thing I'll say about it, is that this particular live is for churches that are doing something in the community. Like, it's not for building a new sanctuary or increasing individuals to come to the church. This is more for community services, sort of like, after school programs, homeless shelters, things like that. And so
Soup
that's what
kitchens and
this,
stuff. Yeah.
right, that's what this sort of talk is about.
And churches, like, they're great because they have the infrastructure and they can host programs, and foundations love to fund programs, like a lot of community development, community building programs, and churches are at that, they have that advantage of having the infrastructure. All they got to do is think of a program and design a program and work in partnership with other schools or nonprofits, whatever's needed, and get the funding to roll out this, because it's done at such a community level.
Yeah, I agree. I like Amanda posted a comment, and she was asked, she said, can we talk about the various types of grants that may be available for churches? And I think you mentioned there's a place to go to get have AI to sort of list the foundation that would support you. But maybe you can talk a little bit about that. And we'll go a little bit over time if you guys are okay with that, maybe 5 minutes, so to make sure that Deepa is able to answer all of the questions here.
Yeah, so like, I'm not sure how much. I mean, I can answer Lisa's question here. Like, grants are typically, where nonprofits go for grants, universities goes for grant, but this is an opportunity that's open even for churches. They can also go for grants because you do have the infrastructure and you do have the community and you do run the program. So why not get the funding for it, right?
Mhm.
Like
Great.
funding from a foundation, like instead of asking individual donors to donate money, you get like a large sum of money, which is on an average $10,000 and upwards, to run a program. And as someone using AI, like, especially when it comes to using GrantOrb, you don't even need to know the skills of writing a great grant proposal, because all that knowledge has been baked in. You literally go from a description to writing that grant application form. So it's literally, you don't need to be a master in that art. You just need to know which are the foundations that you will be approaching the grant funding from. And as I said, you can use ChatGPT for that, or you can use Grok or Meta. If you are on WhatsApp, even Meta, like, there's a AI on the top, like WhatsApp has Meta AI integrated into it. And sometimes I use that as well. Because most of these opportunities get shared on either Facebook or Instagram, or on Grok, it gets shared on X. And they also get data, real-time data from Google searches. You can just ask them, I'm based in so-and-so location, and what are the foundations that are there that would be open to funding programs and, say, after school programs. You just provide context, because if you don't provide context, the search or the AI might suggest all the grants, and those might not be relevant for you, right? They might suggest grants for artists and stuff like that. But so if you say, this is what we do, and this is where we are based. Tell me about open grant opportunities that are accepting applications now, or about all the grant opportunities, for instance, like that. And you can be, and it will give you a list, and then you can have to sift through that list, basically. Hopefully, we'll be able to end that part of the process too with, we're going to have a grant AI agent that will do grant discovery for you and suggest. But right now we don't have that. But once you know what those opportunities are, you can use tools like ChatGPT, or you can use GrantOrb. ChatGPT, you still need to know how to write a grant proposal effectively, but in GrantOrb, we baked in that expertise. So you can literally go from describing the project, unstructured thoughts of mine, as I said, into writing the entire grant proposal in minutes.
Fantastic. Another question, someone asked, what is the cost? Is there a cost for the grant or for GrantOrb?
Yeah, we do have a cost for GrantOrb. It is, it's either, if you want, we offer bundles. Like you can, if you're just writing one grant, you can just buy for one grant, like writing an entire document. Or you can buy like for 10, you can buy, if you think you're going to write 10 grants a year, you can buy a bundle of 10, 50, or 100, depending upon how many grants. Generally, people, actually a very small organization in a really small town bought like 100 grant document bundle. So they intend to write that many grants, which is amazing. It's based on how many documents you generate, because that's the service we're providing. It's about giving you winning grant proposals, LOIs. You can also do grant reporting. You can also write reports. Again, it's like going from unstructured thoughts to polished proposals in minutes.
Great, great. Let's see. There's a couple others. One question was by Desiree. What's the difference between GrantOrb and ChatGPT?
So in ChatGPT, you are still taking time to write your grant because you have to do section by section. It is a general purpose chatbot. It is not a AI specialized in grant writing. It answers all your questions and can do all the kind of different tasks, but you still need to know the art of writing a great grant proposal. And you have to do it section by section. So your time gets reduced, but it is not drastically reduced. While GrantOrb is an AI engineered for grant writing, and it writes grants in 5 minutes, literally from the time you describe your project. It'll take that information and write the whole proposal for you, plug in the research data, generate a list of line item expenses. It will also do eligibility check for you, like how you aligned with the funders' giving criteria. It keeps the assessment criteria and other things in mind while writing the proposal for you. So it's, as I said, it's an AI engineered for grant writing, and it does it in 5 minutes. All of this magic happens in 5 minutes.
That's fantastic. Let me make sure. I think we've hit everybody's questions. Let me see. Lisa asked, does GrantOrb do debug?
But yeah, I
debug the
said
narrative?
budget narratives.
Oh,
yes.
budget narrative.
Yeah,
okay.
we do budget narratives, and we give you we do line item budgeting. But as I said, like we don't, for the line item budgeting, we give you a list of all the line item expenses, but we don't put the amounts next to it, since that needs to come from you. It varies from situation to situation and place to place, but we give you, we do the budget narrative, and we generate a list of line item expenses.
Okay, I think that's covered everything.
Actually, I had a
Deepa, is there
question.
anything
Hello?
Yes, someone had a question.
Okay,
I
please.
said I'm extremely new to grant writing, and I had asked some time ago,
Sorry
using the
that we missed
program,
it.
are you able to acquire grants from different places, organizations, and/or institutions to work at churches that state that they collaborate with each other? Is there like a conflict of interest when you write these grants and you're presenting them pretty much with the same information? So do they like cross-reference, or is it independent grant applications that are put in? I don't know if that's really clear.
Did you want to answer that, Deepa? You want
I
me
didn't. Yeah, you can answer. I didn't quite get the question. I'm happy to answer.
Say it one more time,
Okay,
Kristen.
so I'm new to grant writing, so just sitting in on this, I'm very interested, and it sounds like a wonderful program. You had mentioned something earlier on in the presentation that a lot of churches, especially Black churches, say that they collaborate with each other and they don't.
Oh,
So if you go and you present something, um, it tends to be well, it is competitive. I'm just going to say it as it is. So now you're going after funding. And I was asking, are you able to acquire grants from different places, organizations, and our institutions? I guess what I'm meaning are foundations to work at churches, or rather to apply at churches that state that they collaborate with each other.
yeah. So I want to make sure I'm answering the correct question, but yeah, they prefer that. Like foundations want you to collaborate. They look for that. In fact, when they're looking at grants applications, the ones that are more independent, they get less love than the ones that are collaborating. And in general, if you're collaborating on a project, let's say there's a community food bank and you're doing some portion of the food bank, you would be applying for your portion of that collaboration. And then somebody else that's doing a different portion, maybe they're, I don't know, providing the security guard. I'm just making stuff up. They would be applying. So there would be no overlap in terms of the funding. You wouldn't be asking for double the amount the total is. You're asking for the amount that your portion would be sort of connected to and the others. So if you put all the people that are applying for the grant, it should add up to the total. So the foundations won't be bothered by that. In fact, they would love that.
Yeah,
Did I answer? I want to make sure is that the go ahead, Deepa.
Yeah, I just want to add to that as well. So the foundations, they prefer partnerships because it's impossible for one organization to do everything, right? You're working in the community, you need to partner. And it doesn't have to be with the other church, but you can partner if your program requires you to partner with the local school or the local
Right.
other NGOs operating in your community or in your neighborhood. Then you need to list the names, because with collaboration, they get a holistic picture. Okay, this is where the kids go to school, and this is, where the community kitchen is, whatever the program is. So partnerships also helps them. Sometimes they will say we need minimum 2 partners. So in that case, you have to really strategically think about, okay, who are your 2 partners? Like if you're doing food distribution, then who are the other 2 partners that you will partner with in order to, do
Sure.
food delivery? So it helps them know that you're not alone, and with partnerships you can accomplish things better than you doing it solo, like it just helps uh, spread the effort out. So it basically, when you're writing a proposal and you describe your program based on the city or where you are based, you mentioned that we also suggest local partnerships, like for instance, if it's Toronto,
Sure.
it'll say Toronto District School Board or something like that. So it suggests a list of partnerships, but and you can work backwards sometimes, like sometimes people don't have partners ready, but they do suggest partners, and once they get funding, they know now they need to work with those partners. So they go pick up the phone and talk to them. Hey, we've got the money, we love to partner with you on this and that. So it can work either ways. You can have those partnerships set up in advance, but if you think these would be a good partners in the program, you can still and you have a good working relationship with them, you can still nominate them as partners and then figure out and strengthen those ties later on.
And then also I'd like to say as well that foundations, they sort of want you to follow what you say, but they're not unreasonable. If something happens that you, for some reason, you're unable to work with this partnership, or you're unable to do a certain thing in the application that you applied for, you just call them immediately. Say, hey, this came up, because foundations do not want to take money back. They never do, ever. And so as long as you are communicating with them and you have a viable sort of alternative that you're doing with the money that they gave you, you can sort of work with them, and they appreciate that. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, I want to make sure we answered your question, Kristen, because it was a little complicated. So I want to make sure we answered it.
Yes, and it sounds like the making of another possible webinar because that was definitely meaty. Um, and yes, you touched on a lot of the key points with that. Partnership is key. Collaboration actually looks more favorable
Oh
than
yeah.
working solo. Uh, and yes, I do agree. That seems to be that's like that's where I'm entering in. I provide personal development training for those who are called to leadership. And people think, oh my gosh, well, yeah, they are. No, a lot of times they're pretty much just chosen, brought up, trained in theology and the such, and then put out. But that aspect for themselves is not addressed. But there's so many things that go into play with it. But it's to get them to collaborate and to understand, like, listen, this is not just something that this organization would be what that one does and that one does. And I want to work with different organizations in order to be able to, bring that to fruition.
Yeah, there's several out there that are doing that. I think SBC 21 has some things that they're doing with development. There is enterprise community partners that are doing some things like that. So yeah, I would collaboration is key when you're dealing with foundations. So thank you for that question, Kristen. That's great. And I gotta let Deepa go because we're going we're going up, and we might have to do a part two for her because there's a lot of really good content here. And as she's iterating and increasing the ability of Grant Orb. So yeah, I appreciate that. Now, Deepa, is there any sort of ending remarks you'd like to make? And then also the checklist or something that you're going to leave
Yes,
for the
I would
players?
say, firstly, don't be intimidated by the process of grants. I've worked with a lot of small nonprofits. I know they're not churches, but they're small, and and a lot of those people didn't sign up to write grants. They signed up to for the cause, for which they started the nonprofit. Grant write as a solo fundraiser, I always focused on grant writing because I knew that I could put maximum effort towards that and bring more money rather than bringing small donations. And so I literally just focus my time in discovering who those donors are going to, foundations are going to be that are in alignment with what we do. It has to be always in alignment. And then writing the grant proposal is no big deal now. It literally takes minutes, and you can even use tools like, I would say, between ChatGPT and Claude, there are these chat bots, general purpose chat bots. But if you're using one of these, I would recommend using Claude because it's more tuned for great writing than ChatGPT. I use both, and I prefer Claude in terms of just checking with it. But ChatGPT is also great. And then that's it. You just got to keep hitting on it. And the thing is that you're not limited by your capabilities anymore. You have the superpower with you, AI. You can literally write a lot more grants than you can possibly write as a human being, because it's not a tiring process anymore. Otherwise, it's really draining on the organization. The grants process can be very overwhelming.
Let's think about doing a part two, Deepa, where we actually pick one of the individuals that write in, and we go through the entire process
I can do
of the
a demo.
grant.
Yeah, I would love to do a demo because it is.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So we'll go through and we'll write the grant for them
it
in
will
this
live.
call. So we'll do the search. We'll find the foundation, and then we'll write the grant, and then we'll go through it.
Definitely.
I would love to do that. And so, what are you going to leave what are you going to send or leave the participants? I knew you had a checklist or something you were going to.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to point out to a few AI tools, and I can send you anything like whatever were the burning questions, even around grant writing and just, oh yeah, I can definitely send a checklist around how to ensure that you win a grant, like from eligibility and idea match and
Oh, that's good.
all of that, because it seems like everyone will benefit from that, because writing is not a problem. It's just to make sure that you have you've checked all of these things in to be able to, win a grant, which is obviously great idea, great team, eligibility, alignment, mission, all of that.
That's great. I'm chuckling because Kristen is volunteering that we write a grant for her, of course. I think we'll get a lot of volunteers, Kristen. So, but I appreciate it. Well, thank you so much, Deepa. This has been fantastic, and I hope this is what everybody was looking for. And again, we will do a part 2. We do have a couple other individuals that are lined up, so we might try to squeeze Deepa in on and off Wednesday. But I really appreciate it, Deepa. I think this has been so helpful. And I really encourage Deepa, put your Grant Orb website in one more time. I really want individuals to really check it out. It's really a powerful, powerful tool. And it's something that allows you to sort of step up. You're using the same tools and more powerful tools than a lot of other organizations are using. So I would encourage you to go and visit. And I'm not in this, getting any kickback or anything like that. I just been to the website and I know what it's capable of doing. So I encourage you all to check it out and then look back for part 2 for a Grant Orb and NFM to be putting something on for you. And we will then, again, we'll start from the beginning, nuts and bolts, and finish a grant on the webinar.
Yeah, I love to do. It'll literally take you 10 minutes, I'm telling you.
Right. And we'll let people ask questions. We'll
Yes.
have people review,
And you can see,
stuff like that.
all the elements of what goes into writing a grant, because the problem statement, your solution, goals and objectives, timelines, like literally, we have some sample grant documents already. You can check that as well. But
Awesome.
you will see it live, what it takes to write a really great grant proposal.
Yes. And, I might even challenge us even more and have a foundation program officer sort of come on and look at the grant and we can get a third party point of view. And so that would be interesting as well.
That would be awesome.
All right. Thank you guys so much. And thank you, Deepa. We truly appreciate you. And you all can find this on our YouTube channel. It'll probably be up in a minute or two. And we're going to send pieces out. And then send your emails to Deepa, and she will send you, the checklist and all those other things. Thank you guys so much. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye,
Thank you.
Deepa.
Bye.